Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Kingdom Come Deliverance and I'm doing another armor guide from the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 trailer. This one is the kind of second outfit that we see Henry wearing in the trailer, or I don't know, chronologically second or whatever, but it's another distinct one that we get a pretty dang good look at, and so I figured it'd be worth giving a try to recreating it. Now we're going to go through this like usual. I'll show you all the pieces and all that sort of stuff. We'll talk about stats and various other design elements of the armor that I, think of while we're going. One thing to keep in mind is that the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 armor system appears to have a lot more nuance, and just on average it looks like they fixed a lot of the things that weren't as good from the first game, so there are certain things that look a lot better in the trailer than what we can achieve here in the first game. But let's just get into it. Alright, just starting us off in a simple place, it's going to be with the weapon. Now obviously I don't see enough of the weapon he is using in the picture that I have or in the footage from the video, but it's clearly some sort of a longsword, and so I just decided to go with one of the best longswords in the game. And since I just did my treasure hunt video and actually have St. George's sword in this playthrough now, it seemed like a good idea to use St. George's sword because it's just an excellent weapon all around. Stat-wise, it's obviously very good. Now, this is totally irrelevant to the video, but I'm a big fan of this sword. It has balanced stab and slash, both at 72. The Herod's sword has a stat of 75, but this one is balanced at 72, so just overall it averages out to be a better weapon. It's honestly great. 110 defense, 18 charisma, nice high durability. It's a very, very good weapon. It makes it one of the absolute best weapons in the game, and considering, I think, as far as melee goes, my go-to combat styles are Mace and Shield or Axe and Shield, just because it's the easiest to face multiple opponents for melee using one of those. But the most fun in the game, like if you actually learn how to do it and get really good at it, I think Longsword is the most fun. So, St. George's sword is obviously one of my favorite weapons overall. So that's the longsword I went with. Again, you can't really see much detail on it, and so obviously any longsword will work, but that's just the one I thought would go good with this outfit. Next up, we have our base level for clothing, and now I based all these decisions on what I could tell about the picture. Well, most of them. The gold ring, golden spurs, and heraldic neck chain, obviously those are totally invisible in this game, and I can't see anything in the picture that I'm basing this off of from the second game, but I figured it's always good to go with them. They give you a little bit of extra pizzazz, they help your charisma a bit, and they are obviously worth something, so they, like I said, it's mostly an imaginary stat in my head, but that's sort of elegance or whatever, lending credence to the fact that you're not just a peasant, because you got some cool fancy stuff on you as well. So, like I said, most of that's just nonsense. That is just, headcanon type stuff, but it works. Then we have the red hose. He's clearly wearing some sort of red leg wear underneath his armor in the picture. It looks wet, so possibly it's just red because of blood. If they've got some sort of a system where it starts to stain your clothing in more of a full and complete way, because they have it in the first game where your clothing will get dirty, damaged, or will have blood on it. So I hope that that system exists in the second game, and if anything has only been enhanced. But from what I can tell, they are obviously red pants. Now, fun fact, if you have the Warhorse padded chausses, you could have those on here because they are red. I have not yet done the ancient treasure map hunts in this playthrough, so I don't actually have the Warhorse set yet. I should do that because I kind of like that set of armor. But anyway, so I went with the red hose because they were dark enough to actually look like what we can see in the trailer. Then of course I went with the Dark Saxon Gambeson, and I went with this because you can see the Gambeson underneath his armor in the trailer. It's like a darker gray. It has like a gold fringe on the bottom. It actually looks pretty dang cool. We obviously don't have anything like that, but we do have a dark gambeson that's long enough that it hangs out the bottom, and so this matches it relatively well. So this is our base level of clothing. Adding on top of that, our second level, or the male level, we didn't do much here because like I said, unless you have the Warhorse padded chausses for his legs, which are red and would still match therefore, I don't have those. If you did, I would recommend wearing them because they'll help you with some armor value here. But since I don't, I just went with what we can see, and he's obviously wearing a long male shirt, and so I just went with the long noble hauberk because that gives us the full sleeve length and the full length on the torso. Now in the trailer it doesn't go down that far, the gambeson sticks out underneath, but whatever, it's fine. Minor detail, especially for the stats, because the long noble hauberk has great stats. You can see we have a stab defense of 14 and a slash defense of 17. Then you can't really see it in the trailer, but I figured why not add a little bit of extra armor value with the noble's male collar. Gives us just a little bit extra there, and like I said, you can't actually see this direct arrow because he's wearing a hood in the trailer, but makes sense that there would be something there. For me personally, if I was going to go into battle, I'd have a padded coif, a male coif, and a helmet, but you got to see his head because otherwise anyone could be fighting there. We need to know that it's Henry. So at the very least, I would have a mail collar, something acting as a gorget to protect my ever so weak and vulnerable throat. But that's our second level. Not very high-tech, I guess, or advanced, but it is what it is. Then for our armor level, not super heavy here because he's actually missing a few spots as far as armor are concerned for the top level. For one thing, we don't have any head armor. There's no coif and there's no helmet, so head is totally exposed here. What we do have is leg armor, torso armor, and armored gloves or gauntlets. There does not appear to be any arm armor in the trailer footage. I considered adding some of the arm armor where it just kind of covers the elbows or whatever, just to give you a little bit of extra, but looking at it, it's pretty clear that there's nothing there, so I figured it would be better to maintain the appearance since that's primarily what we're going for. And so he's wearing gilded armor in it. We don't actually have pieces that look exactly like this. We kind of have pieces that are halfway to correct in each one, so that's what I used here. I used the Augsburg plate chausses for our leg armor, and now he's wearing full plate chausses with gilding around the knees. That being said, they're a slightly different style than these. These are kind of more of a angular, boxy look to them, and his are slightly more curved and rounded. That being said, this still comes the closest to looking like his because it's the full armored ones with gilded trimming, I guess you would call that. And so that's what we used for the legs. For the gauntlets, we just used the Kuttenberg gauntlets because A, the game takes place in Kuttenberg, so it's always fun to work that in, and B, or at least partially in Kuttenberg, and B, they're just some of the highest defense gauntlets we can wear as far as armored gauntlets go, and they have some gilding on them which helps match the rest of the armor, so I think they make a lot of sense. Then we have the Magdeburg cuirass, which is one of the best cuirasses in the game. It's in the top 5, I believe. At least top 5, not counting variants. It's a very good plate cuirass with some gilding on it. Now, the one he has more. It's a lot like the decorated cuirass because it has these vertical gilded strips going down it. The only problem with that, and why I didn't go with it, is because it ends high-waisted, which is, there's no problem with that historically. There's like the Cherbourg armor and stuff like that existed where it had a very high-waisted cuirass and did not have any tassets or anything covering the lower torso or groin area. But what he's wearing in the trailer clearly does, and so even though the decorated cuirass has those vertical stripes of gold on it, which looks more like what he's wearing in the trailer, I had to go with this one just for the fact that we get that lower torso covering like he has in the trailer, because I think that matters more for the, appearance of the armor overall. But if you really want to go with that extra gilding, then obviously the decorated cuirass is more appropriate for this suit. But that's it. That's all the armor that he actually wears as far as plate armor and stuff goes in the trailer. He doesn't have any arm armor. We don't have any, like I said, you could use the Warhorse padded chausses, but other than that, we're not wearing leg chainmail and we don't have any head armor. So it's actually a kind of like a half plate suit. And then lastly, for a top layer, I couldn't match it perfectly. This is another thing I wanted to talk about with the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 trailer. The hoods look so good. I know that may sound stupid or like it's this tiny little change, but it's a huge improvement over the first one. Sometimes I would wear like the Noble's hood or Sir Radzig's hood just because I like the pattern on it, but most often I think the hoods look really bad in the first game just because they're all flat and you can't actually put the hood up so you don't wear them. So it's just this like half cloak sort of looking thing on the top of your armor. I've utilized them in suits of armor, but a lot of times I don't, just because I don't like exactly how flat and uninspired they look or whatever and how low down they go. The ones in the trailer for the second one look great. You can actually see a distinct hood on every single one of them that we see in the trailer, which makes me believe you're going to have the option to put your hood up or down in the second game, which I know a lot of people wanted in the first game and were disappointed that we didn't have. So that's one thing that I think that we can see from looking at what they've shown us in the trailer so far. The other thing is just the hood in general has a lot more detail in them and they sit higher. So instead of going down basically to where your nipples would be, they sit up much higher. The part that you're wearing on your torso is mostly just covering like the tops of your shoulders. And so I didn't want to use a black hood or a black and gold hood for this one because it covered too much of the armor. So I just went with the black scarf. I think it adds just a little bit to the neck and comes decently close to kind of looking like it does in the trailer. It goes down not as far on the back as his does because the hood in the trailer goes basically down to the belt line. And so I wish we had that in this game, but I'm looking forward to it in the second game. Anyway, that is the entire suit of armor as best as I could recreate it in Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. Stats for this one, we have a weight of 47.1 pounds, so it's not very heavy. That makes sense considering we only have one weapon and it's basically a suit of half plate because we're missing several different pieces of plate armor and we don't have any mail chausses or anything. So that keeps it lighter, so 47.1 pounds is not that bad. We have a total value of 12,869.8 groschen, so again, not crazy, but we are missing several pieces of armor, and extra weapons and stuff, which would drive that value up, so it makes sense that we're not busting, 20,000 groschen on this suit. And then we have an AAR, or average armor rating, of 64.5. Again, not surprising. We're missing a lot of value on our leg armor because we don't have that any chosses or anything. We're missing that arm armor, and of course, the place that brings us down the most is our head armor. We have basically no head protection. You can see down here 4, 6, and 3. That's pretty abysmal. Other stats for this suit that actually make it decent in my opinion: visibility and conspicuousness of 55 and 57. Those obviously aren't stealth levels, but they're not crazy high. That's nothing that's helping them pick you out from 240s away, so that's not bad at all. Noise is only 60. I've had a lot worse than that with plate armor. Again, we're probably saving a lot of noise by not having mail chosses on, but still, that ain't bad. Charisma of 16 also isn't bad. Now, keep in mind, some of these stats are, of course, impacted by the various skills that I have on this playthrough, but still, not a bad suit of armor, all things considered. And importantly, I think it does match the suit from the trailer relatively well. I can't stress enough how much I'm looking forward to the second game, just based on what we've seen improvement-wise for the armor. I'm sure the game itself is going to be great. I'm sure the story is going to be great. I'm going to love the combat. Well, hopefully I love the combat. They've been talking about changes, which has me nervous, but I have faith in Warhorse Studios. They've never let me down yet. But just the armor looks so good, and I focus on that so much. It's one of my favorite things in any game I play. I love the armor. So, but that's it. That's the whole video. I'm glad to have enjoyed making this as much as I did. Hope you enjoyed watching it. That's all for today, though. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.